Good evening, everyone. This is Mary Ann Eadie, and we are now having our second conference call council meeting. So again, bear with us, and everybody, all our staff and the rest of the councillors have phoned in. So everybody is here. I could take roll call, just I'll go around the table in a minute, but I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order at 5 p.m. on Monday, April 6, 2020, and we're here in the council chambers at the Municipal Administration Centre, or at least I am, and so is Jen Laurie. The two of us are here. Everybody else, we'll just check in with them. So, Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Present.
Councillor Kyler.
Present.
Councillor Couture.
Present.
Councillor Glover.
Present.
Councillor Stewart.
Present.
Councillor Ropel.
Present.
Councillor Haight.
Yep.
And Councillor Kennedy.
Yes.
All right, so we've got a full council here, and as I understand from our CAO, who is also phoning in, and our clerk, Donna McDougall, we have our full senior staff here as well. Is there anybody else that I have missed that has phoned in? Okay. So the first we have, are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from the agenda? And
yes, Bill here.
Okay.
I'd like to add, there was three things I wanted to add, but Donna's covered two of them. The seasonal residential announcement in the Davidson Centre has already been added. But I would like to talk and maybe get a status of the State of Union.
Has left.
Sorry, the status of what?
The status of the state of emergency, because I believe it's coming up tomorrow. So are we getting it extended? I'm not sure what's happening. If you could just give us a status.
No. So I got clarification on that, Bill, and we declared a state of emergency, but we didn't declare an end date. It's only if you declare an end date. So it's still in effect. But so you wanted the seasonal.
Well, that's all I wanted to know, if it's still in effect.
Yes, but you still wanted something about the seasonal residential added?
No, it's already been added in the closed meeting, and then the Davidson Centre has been added to the COW.
Okay. All right, and Jen has something as well.
Okay, this is moved by Marie Wilson, seconded by Dave Collar, that Council approve the following deletions to the agenda. 10, reason for closed meeting, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory or Crown agency or any of them. That was a COVID-19 related matter. And in the closed meeting agenda, 4.2, COVID-19 related matter. And further, that Council approve the following addition to the agenda. 10, the reason for going into closed meeting, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. That's a legal matter. And a closed meeting agenda item 4.2, legal matter.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the deletion and agenda and adding to the agendas for that, as Jen explained. So, those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All those opposed?
No.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Sorry, I just have to have your name for anybody opposed.
Oh, Dave, I'm sorry.
Okay, good. Any abstainers? So the motion carried. Does anybody have a disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move to adoption of the minutes from the regular and special meetings of council.
This is moved by Maureen Couture, seconded by Jerry Glover, and that's for the March 30th meeting.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
Roxana has joined.
Hearing none opposed. Any abstainers? Motion carried. Next, 5.1. Does anybody have a notice of motion tonight?
Yes, Dave, I believe I'm doing this right. I'm not sure, Ann. I would like to talk about a letter of support for SMART.
Okay, and at our next meeting?
No, at this meeting.
Okay, so technically that would be under addition to the agenda, Dave. Notices of motions are usually for the a meeting in the future, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks. So if council
I
concur...
asked for this at the last meeting.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Kyler asked for it a report to come back.
Yes, that's what I thought. Pardon?
He asked for a report to come back from the consent agenda,
Yes.
and it's not on this one. It'll be on a future one.
Can it be on next week?
It won't take very long. Fine, next week.
Okay, because it's not a long thing. There's other letters of support from other municipalities, so it's just kind of a routine thing, I think. Either we support it or not. Okay,
Right.
so that's next week. Yeah, I've seen some of those.
I can't get into my e-scribe.
Oh, okay. So, are you on your iPad?
Yeah.
So you can just go to the municipality of Kincardine and the calendar and go in that way.
Yeah, it worked fine last week. I'll try it again, but
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
Okay. So 5.2 is the RCM Technologies Canada Corporation lease agreement.
So this was moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Randy Ropel. Whereas RCM Technologies Canada Corporation, a tenant of the Municipal Administration Centre's lease expires at the end of April 2020, and whereas RCM Technologies Canada Corporation has requested that their current lease be extended to provide them time to physically move their offices due to delays they are encountering resulting from the COVID-19 emergency. Now therefore be it resolved that Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to finalize terms and agreements to extend the lease with RCM Technologies Canada Corporation.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Any opposed? Any abstainers? Okay, the motion carried. So next we move into Committee of the Whole.
That's moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Doug Kennedy.
All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. So we're now into Committee of the Whole. So I'm going to call this Committee of the Whole meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order at 5:08 p.m. Monday, April 6th. And for roll call, has anybody left or joined us?
Roxana has joined. I heard her join in.
Okay, so we now have Roxana here. Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from this Committee of the Whole agenda? Okay, so Jen has the motion.
So moved by Dave Kyler, seconded by Maureen Couture, that council approve the following addition to the agenda. 6.2E, community recovery location at the Davidson Centre.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried. Does anybody have a disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Hearing none, we'll go to adoption of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meetings.
So that was moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Doug Kennedy, and that's for the Monday, March 30th minutes.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? Motion carried. Okay, E is the addition.
6.2.
Yeah. Good. So next we go to reports. So for Public Works, 6.1A, we have water and wastewater financial plans. And I will ask Adam to give his report.
Thanks, Mary. So this report is a brief summary along with an attachment from Hemson Consulting. So Hemson was hired to prepare our rate study, and through that, once approved, take that information and put together a financial plan for the water systems as deemed required under the Safe Drinking Water Act and part and parcel of our license renewal process for the two systems. So what we have before council is we have through their report and our summary deemed that the systems are financially viable, and that's through conducting a review of the current fiscal year as well as projections out as far as 9 years. Next steps with this is that we require council's support of the financial plan so that we can then proceed with license applications in the month of May and receive those within the period before our current license expires within the calendar year.
Thank you, Adam. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Adam regarding this? Okay, so we have the recommendation. Jen, are you going to read the recommendation, or you have the movers and seconders, right? I have the movers and seconders. Okay, I can read the recommendation just so that... whereas pursuant to the Safe Drinking Water Act 2002 and Ontario Regulation 453/7, financial plans are required for municipal drinking water license applications. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Kincardine approve the Municipality of Kincardine Water Financial Plan dated March 26, 2020, and further that the Kincardine area and Tiverton area drinking water systems are financially viable, and further that Council receive the water and wastewater rate study as presented by Hemson Consulting.
And that we have moved by Jerry Glover, seconded by Bill Stewart.
Okay, and the date to be considered by Council is Monday, April 6th, which is today. So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. Uh, 6.1B is the Hunter Street Kincardine Red Trail Landowner Agreement. Public Works again. Adam?
Okay. So this one here is a bit of a housekeeping element for us. It became aware to our group through discussions with the Trails Association that the properties along the south side of Hunter Street where the trail encroaches, that we did not have land use agreements with them. So there are a total of 7 parcels that have the trail encroaching at the rear of their lot, and we would like council support to proceed with each of them to get the mutual use agreement signed and then bring that back to council for final approval. So we would bring all of them back once they're signed for council's final approval, and that would allow the trail to be maintained in its current location without having to look at other measures.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Does anybody have any further questions or comments for Adam? Okay. The recommendation is that council enter into an agreement with private landowners residing on the south side of the Hunter Street subdivision affected by the Red Trail system as per report number Public Works 2020-07. And it's moved by
Randy Ropel, seconded by Laura Haight.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
All those opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. Next, 6.1C, Kincardine Inverhuron Provincial Park, or KIP as it's better known, trail construction proposal. And again, Adam, let you present here.
Thank you. So the report before you details some discussions that we've had with both EPCOR and ACON in relation to, I guess, ability to synergize some of our efforts related to the trail and their gas project that's commencing this spring. So what we've done is we, through those discussions, provided ACON with a detailed scope of what the trail entails and requested that they provide us pricing for consideration. So through that, we have reviewed the pricing that came back from ACON and have deemed that it is both within budget and also that the numbers do present some opportunity of benefit. Aside from just the financial aspect, it also offers some relief from having to deal with two constructors in one work environment, which is a bit of a challenge through the Ministry of Labor regulations. And also that we would be able to commence with construction of the trail at an earlier date as opposed to waiting until the gas line is fully energized. And if we had to wait until the gas line was fully energized, one pitfall or additional component to the project at that time is that we would need one of EPCOR's staff out on site permanently, basically spotting the gas and making sure any of our excavation work wasn't going to compromise the main while that work took place. So what we've done then in the reports and presenting to council is a request for consideration of relief from the procurement policy. Typically, with something of this magnitude and for our capital projects, we would go through a competitive procurement policy or process, but we are looking for consideration of relief from that due to some of the elements that I've noted. One of the things to mention with this is that we did apply for the ICIP grant stream, the recreation and culture stream that they had out, and at one time we were anticipating spring to early summer announcement on that. With the current pandemic, I'm not certain if that grant stream will be delayed or if there will be further refinement to that. So within our recommendation, we have suggested if council is willing to support allowing ACON to construct the trail at, I guess, along with their gas works, that it would be contingent on us receiving successful approval to the grant application. Currently within the capital budget, the project is contingent on that. And if we were unsuccessful in the grant, we would either have to revisit how it's funded or it would be deferred to a future budget.
Okay, thank you, Adam. So if there's discussion on this, just say your name first and then ask your question or have your comment. So are there any questions or comments for Adam on this?
Ann, it's Laura.
Yes.
Adam, I was curious, given the Premier's announcement on construction projects being curtailed as well, is the gas project going through? Have we got confirmation on that? And I understand we're bringing, to let everybody know, I was speaking to Adam this afternoon. I understand there's a report coming later on about capital projects, maybe later this month or in May, for our own capital projects to see whether they're going to continue during this period of time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we did have a conference call with ACON and EPCOR today. At this time, their understanding of the announcement is that they are within the, I guess, the limitations that are still available for construction, and they are intending to proceed. ACON is putting together a list of guidelines to protect their workers that will be presented to both EPCOR and the municipality. So that's the latest, I guess, with respect to that. And yeah, as far as other projects, we're intending to conduct a review this week to see how that announcement and the pandemic as a whole are going to impact our planned budget items.
And as a follow-up, Adam, I understand you don't want to do the full tender, but how will you be ensuring that the municipality gets its competitive best price? Is it a series of quotations, or what are you thinking?
So what they've done is they have provided us a detailed estimate.
Roxana?
Has left.
They have provided us a detailed estimate based on a typical tender process. So we've had all our detailed line items and quantities within that, and the unit rates that have come back within that are in line with what we see in terms of market values. And then in terms of quality control and assurance, we'll be working with them and BM Ross as well to come up with a process that ensures that that we're all satisfied with the work being done and the outcome of everything, both from a quality perspective and financial.
And my final question will be, the county as a portioner had in previous years indicated that they would share some of the cost burdens of this KIP trail. Is that still in play, and how much are they contributing towards this project?
So there is still a commitment from them, and that is a $70,000 in-kind commitment. So pending if everything is to proceed, we will sit down in further detail with a couple county officials and iron out exactly what those in-kind aspects look like. Through the negotiation and design process, discussions that were had were considerations such as tree trimming, culvert extensions, such as that along the county corridor that are required for the trail.
Thank you.
I have a question, Ann.
Maureen?
It's directed to Michelle, and perhaps if Adam is coming back with a report on our own capital projects and whether they can continue or not, could we also get a report from planning point of view on building going on by the private sector in our community, and whether there is anything to report? I know Westridge on the Lake has not started to build. Just anything that you might know, Michelle, on that might help us know what the status is with residential and even commercial, if there's any.
As to what the projects have started? Okay.
Yes, and which ones then will continue, because they said, if I understand, is that it's just unstarted projects that are on hold.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd just like to know what those might be in our community that you're able to share with us, not perhaps in closed session if need be.
Okay.
Question, Bill?
Yes, Bill?
Adam, I'm getting old, so I can't remember. How much was the grant, the ICIP grant?
I honestly can't recall without taking a look back. We can provide that to council. Possibly if Roxanne is able to dial back in, she might recall that as well.
As I remember, Bill, it was a third.
Okay, so it's sizable. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I could be wrong, but that's what my memory recalls.
Because you're right. Just to follow up, this is a great opportunity for us, and I can support this. It's just unfortunately, it's a sizable amount of money that we can't really jeopardize at this particular time. Because I would moving this project forward if I had the choice.
Yes, so we'll have to wait and see. My understanding was we provided a third, the province provided a third, and the federal government it was in that process. But Adam can check and maybe bring it back next week for sure.
It's probably around 300,000. It looks like 300,000 to 400,000. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Are there any?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, question for Randy.
Yes.
Yeah, when Adam was discussing with respect to, and Laura's questioning with respect to what the provincial government's guidelines have been handed down with respect to capital projects in the province, I am going to assume that EBCOR and ACON, or EBCOR, somebody is going to let us know as the municipality of Kincardine as to that this project can proceed.
Has joined.
And not only that it can proceed under the rules and regulations that they have to proceed. Because the way it sits right now, I mean, we could guess. And it's like Adam says, they've said that they feel that it warrants to proceed with it. But I think we need verification as a municipality to make sure that if this is the case, that we let the people know who are, some of them have been waiting for a long time for natural gas to this municipality. And I think under the circumstances we find ourselves in this province, that if this is to proceed, we need to make a public announcement as such.
Okay, thank you, Randy. And Adam, did you have any more comments?
So with respect to EPCOR, I can certainly loop back with them and see about getting some firm commitment from them in that regard. The funding piece, I will look that up, but I do recall it being within that a third format as well, Mary. So I'll look up that detail and send that out to council as well. Okay, thank you.
Anna says it's 800,000.
Which is the province okays things, and that makes the 2/3. We just have to pay the third, as far as I know. Anyway, regarding EPCOR, regardless of what happens, I think EPCOR has been asking people to get their paperwork in to them if for their hookups, so that can still go ahead regardless. So just a reminder to all our residents, if most of you probably have your paperwork in, but I've heard of a few that maybe haven't, so it's just a reminder, get your paperwork into EPCOR. So, anybody else?
Yes. Dave.
Dave, yes. And then Sharon?
Yes.
Okay. Adam, how sure are you that we'll get this $400,000 from the province?
I think it's anybody's guess at this point whether the program still even is going to remain active with everything going on. So I think just to make sure everyone is of the same understanding with this, we're simply at this time asking for council to endorse the concept, and if we do get the grant, that it would be only become firm at that point.
Okay, so then if we don't get the grant, we're not going to do it, right?
Well, I would have to come back to council with an additional staffing report in terms of either funding opportunities or, looking at it in a future budget year.
Mm-hmm. Well, if the province doesn't figure that they have $400,000 to throw into it, I don't know how we could. So I wouldn't be able to support going ahead with it unless we know for sure that we get the grant. And like you said, that's what it's going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Bill?
Sorry, Sharon, did you want to say something? I thought I heard your voice.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that we will be looking at capital projects for across the whole organization and bringing back a report to council on the status of those. But just to keep in mind, too, that this is sort of a moving target, as this situation proceeds. We've seen a further tightening with essential services, and we're just going to have to continue to monitor the situation as it evolves.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Did I hear your voice, Bill?
Yes, you did. I just want to make sure we don't miss this opportunity. Thank you very much, Sharon, because capital budgets are all going to be reviewed. I look at this project, it's been long overdue. It's a great project. I'm afraid if we don't go ahead and do it, we could be suffering double the cost because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where these guys are already building the pipeline. So, Adam, I don't want this thing just to go away. Keep us informed of what's going on. So if we have to make a call, you can come back to council. We might have to make a tough call and take some money from another project to put in this project and just hope like heck we're going to get some of the funds.
Okay, thank you,
Anyways,
Bill.
that's my comment.
I've been I don't know how many years I've been asking if the $70,000 is back in the county budget, and it has stayed there. So that's another little bit of money that helps us out as well. So yeah, we want it to stay in the county budget, or at least I do. So if we'll go to the recommendation now. that council approve staff to utilize Section 17, negotiated purchases of policy, GG.2.17, to hire ACON to construct the KIP trail in line with the gas project at their quoted price of $1,217,052.66, including applicable taxes, should funding from the ICIP grant be successful. So moved by?
That's moved by Doug Kennedy, seconded by Marie Wilson.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? Motion carried. So D, I guess this is 6.1B, the McGillivray Drainage Agreement, Public Works, again. So Adam?
So in 2019, there was a drainage requirement to basically provide outlet for a tile drainage system that was installed. In order to gain outlet, the property owner had to encroach across other lands to do that. So what we have had prepared by our drainage superintendent is a drainage agreement that would be registered on title in perpetuity to protect this property's outlet and also across the other parties that it's encroaching. So there is a draft drainage agreement that is prepared, and with that it spells out who's responsible for the cost to install, which have been done, and then also the maintenance costs, and those are all private costs. None of those are borne by the municipality. So we're looking for council support to ratify that agreement and get it registered.
Are there any questions for Adam? It's fairly routine, needing an outlet. Okay, and the recommendation is that council approves the McGillivray Drainage Agreement for creating an outlet for a tile drainage system for Lot 16, Concession 11, as per report number Public Works 2020-08.
And that's moved by Maureen Couture, seconded by Jerry Glover.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. So the next one is E, 61E, hot mix paving and airport crack sealing tenders, Public Works. Adam.
Okay, so we conducted two tenders, one for the hot mix paving project for the 8 kilometers on Concession 11, as well as the crack sealing for 0523 at the airport. With that, we did receive 2 bids for both tenders. Both were under and or within budget, and so we're looking for council support to award to the low bidders. With respect to the paving project, Harold Sutherland Construction was the low bid. We worked with them last year on our paving project as well, and had significant successes with them, and we're quite pleased with the work. And with respect to the crack sealing, both bidders that put in, we've worked with in the past, and the low bidder we're comfortable with awarding to them. With that, the tender that was prepared, we put in just over 15,000 linear meters for crack sealing. The runway hasn't had a lot of TLC in a number of years, and could use probably a quantity more than that. I don't know how many, because we didn't go out and wheel off the 15,000 plus meters. The budget that was approved for that is 70,000, with the low bid coming in just under 30,000. So we are looking on it to have council support to spend up to the budget limit as a maximum to be able to wrap up all of the crack sealing on that runway, and to be able to move into a more routine annual maintenance program at the airport, so we're not incurring large sums of value or of project and quantity in the future.
Thanks, Adam. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Adam on this? Okay, hearing none. The recommendation is that council award the 2020 hot mix paving contract to Harold Sutherland Construction Limited in the amount of $765,318 dollars and 27 cents, including the non-refundable portion of the HST, and further that council award the tender for crack sealing runway 05-23 to the low bidder, Elk Asphalt Maintenance Limited, in the amount of $28,803.17, including the non-refundable portion of the HST, and approve spending up to the budget limit amount of $70,000.
And that one's going to be moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Randy Ropo.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes. Better go buy a lottery ticket.
All those opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. So next we have 6.1F, miscellaneous fleet procurement. And I return to you, Adam, again.
So we put out 2 RFPs, one for a tandem plow truck and the other for a loader to replace existing fleet that was approved in the capital budget. From that, we received a total of 5 submissions for the loader and a total of 5 for the tandem plow truck. One of the bids for the plow truck, however, was late and missed the deadline and was not included in the review. So with an RFP, one of the main factors and scoring aspect is the financial component, but also taking a look at the ability to service, warranty programs, the mechanics' comforts with the piece of equipment, and ergonomics, and some other features for the operators. So review team took a look at both submissions, and the scores that came back in terms of the high scores, which are the recommendations, was for the loader, Brandt Tractor, and that's for a John Deere, and for the tandem plow truck, it was to Highway Western Star for a Western Star truck. We did review last year's spec and also the truck just before it arrived in putting out our bid document, and we're quite happy with the truck that we were receiving that we bid on last year and had supplied by Highway Western Star. And last year we also had, it was Nortrax at the time, who's been purchased by Brandt, did supply us a John Deere loader, and that's what we're primarily operating in our fleet at this time, and quite pleased with the customer support and the quality of the equipment. So we're suggesting to council to award to those 2 vendors.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Adam?
I have a question, but actually to Roxana. Is she on the line? It's Bill here.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
I'm just getting a little worried, you know, you might not know it, but with adding this tender, and if we approve it, what percentage are we at our capital budget now? Are we 50%?
You mean in total projects for 2020 that we've undertaken?
Yeah, the ones that we have tendered and the ones we approved so far. Just give me a rough estimate.
I can't, because I don't know without looking at it in detail. I wouldn't say it's at 50% though.
So it's below 50? Okay.
That's my guess.
Okay. I just wanted to know, you know, I don't want to get up to 80 or 90 and then find out we have some other cost. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll read the recommendation. That council award the contract for the purchase of a tandem plow sander truck to Highway Western Star at their tendered price of $317,426.07, including applicable taxes, and to award the contract for the purchase of a rubber-tired articulated loader to Brandt Tractor Limited at their tendered price of $273,655.03, including applicable taxes. And
So that will be moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Doug Kennedy.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. Now, Adam, I think we have one more for you, which is G, 61G, the bag tag program during COVID-19. Okay, Adam?
Okay, thank you. So a couple things, one to note. So there was an original FYI report included in the agenda. That was in order to get it on the agenda, and then there was a more detailed report that was circulated today that does contain a recommendation for council consideration. So through the pandemic so far, staff and social media have been fielding a number of calls, emails, etc., in relation to the bag tag program. A number of those with concerns about essentially forcing people out into the public when we're trying to promote isolation and social distancing measures. So what we have done is we have consulted with all of the lower tiers within the county, as well as looked at some best practices outside of the county to come up with some options for council's consideration, and have provided some pros and cons from our perspective related to each. So just to run through the options, option one that we looked at was to continue to require bag tags on each bag, and no change to the program. So a pro is that there would be no impact from a financial perspective. However, a con, or a couple cons, is that it does not promote social distancing and does not alleviate financial concerns with any of the residents that are impacted by the pandemic. Through that, we did check with the local grocery stores, and Sobeys, who does do delivery service with respect to their groceries, also will include bag tags within those orders. So there is an avenue that way for residents to obtain without having to go out. Option two was to provide 2 weeks of bag tags to those who request them as a result of quarantine due to travel or illness. So the pro with that is it would promote social distancing. A couple cons that we considered is there's a negative impact to the bag tag revenue, and it could be difficult for staff to manage as a whole. 3 was provide for a free temporary home delivery with online order form for tags. The pros to this is that it would promote social distancing and there'd be no impact to the revenue. One con is that it does not alleviate the current financial concerns of the residents that are financially impacted. And a fourth is allow 1 bag per week, and we just put a time period on it to come up with some numbers. So we suggested from April 6th through May 29th. So the pros with that is that it would promote the social distancing. To note, the average household in Kincardine, through checking with Basra, would place 1.5 bags of garbage out for collection. With the recycling program in place, we feel that there would be little change to that. While people are home more, we are anticipating or assuming it would remain fairly constant. And so it would help alleviate some concerns of the residents seeking the financial relief. Cons related to that option is that it would result in a loss of approximately $80,000 in bag tag revenue during that time frame, taking the 1.5 bag average, and all costs to operate the waste collection through our collector would remain unchanged. I guess. A couple other points with that then. The inability to ensure that residents, in terms of cons, ensure that all residents would only place it at their curb frontage, and that people that had more than 1 bag wouldn't, in fact, drop it at another curb frontage. That would be difficult to police. And not saying it would happen, but it is a risk that we did want to put out there. So in total, we do have within the operating budget $400,000 allocated as revenue from our bag tags. And so typically through a monthly average, we look at approximately $38,000 in terms of revenue coming in from those tags. So staff are suggesting to council that we feel that basically with Sobeys offering the ability for people to purchase and have their tags delivered with their groceries, that we're suggesting to council to consider that the bag tag program continues status quo in terms of requirement on the bags, but also to have staff provide a free temporary home delivery service with an online order. And then those online processes in terms of that form would create a trigger for the Treasury Department to invoice the people, and they would either pay for that transaction through check or an online payment. This again could be cumbersome to manage, but we felt it was an opportunity to deliver a service yet to the people that are stuck at home that may be isolating for various reasons.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Comments or questions for Adam?
Maureen here.
It's Jerry.
Okay, Maureen first.
Yeah, I agree with the recommendation. I think that reading ahead in the agenda, there are some things that we are proposing that have a much heavier financial impact that I would be supporting. But I think it would be prudent to keep going, and the proposal that Adam has put forward, I agree with.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Dave here, Ann.
Sorry, Jerry was next. I didn't catch Jerry's.
Okay. Go ahead,
Jerry, and then Dave.
I am supportive of this. I just have two comments to add, and certainly not opening can of worms. I just am cognizant of the realities going forward that if people do lose their job and are intending to do the right thing, we certainly don't want people forced to make decisions to illegally dump their garbage and have an unintended sort of consequence. There really are more people than we think that are financially and economically being affected by the pandemic. And the second thing is just for clarification. I do appreciate that Sobeys does delivery, and I do believe it's $20 from I think what I read online. Don't quote me. So some of the people that may be also advocating for some of the bag tag fees may not be able to pay the $20 home delivery for the groceries to get the tags delivered. And then just a comment about bringing people the forms. I hope that that's not redundant, but generally I support the approach, but just looking ahead a little bit, if this lasts a little bit longer as projected, this may not be a sustainable approach, because people may just not at the end of the day be able to afford this. So we may be having this conversation again. Just wanted to add those thoughts.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Back to Dave.
Yeah, I was of the understanding, Jerry, that Sobeys charges $10, and that is to gather your groceries and deliver them.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Dave.
Anyway, the thing is, I'm all for helping people. I really am. But if we give away a whole bunch of money right now trying to help everyone, that means that the taxes are going to go up more next year. So we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And I think we should leave it at status quo right now. And like you say, Jerry, maybe we'll be looking at it down the road again.
Okay,
Comment, Bill?
Bill?
I'll support the recommendation number one. I think it's wise. I don't think we need to add any more administration, logistics. We're doing a pretty good job delivering the necessary services now. And I believe that maybe, Ann, you can make an announcement, Mayor Eadie. Maybe it's a good neighbor policy. Make sure that all neighbors are talking to each other. I have no problems. If anyone needs me to go pick up garbage tags them, I'll do it. But, I think we should do the good neighbor policy and leave it the way it is.
Okay,
Marie here.
Yes, Marie.
Yes, I support this wholeheartedly, and I agree with Maureen that there are some other programs further on the agenda that I think will provide some savings. So I think this is we should leave this the way it is. But I just have a question. Approximately how many people actually did raise concerns about this? Like, were there a dozen? Were there, 30 more? Like, how many?
So in terms of volume, Jen, possibly you can comment as well, having reviewed some of this with the communications group. We certainly, I don't have a volume for you. However, what I can tell you is that there was a period that some of our staff members were constantly focusing on returning emails
has joined.
And also returning calls to people in regards to this subject. There were some that were repetitive. However, I'm not sure the overall volume.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm not sure in that regard. I know I had a couple of emails maybe or phone calls, but I don't know whether I got them to staff. I was pretty sure we'd be talking about it at the council table, which is good. So if there is no one else, I'll read the recommendation and we'll have the mover and seconder. The council recommend the bag tag program continue status quo and have staff provide for a free temporary home delivery with an online order form for tags.
And that would be Jerry Glover and Bill Stewart.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Those opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. So, Adam, I think we can give you a break now, and we go to 6.2, other areas of responsibility, 6.2A, the 2019 year-end capital review, Treasury. And Roxana.
Okay, I'm really hoping my phone does not disconnect for the fourth time. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Really good.
Okay, good. So, a review of the 2019 capital budget has been performed by staff and has been summarized in the attached spreadsheet. And so, in order to finalize the 2019 year-end, Council is requested to authorize certain transfers from reserves and reserve funds for projects that exceeded budget. So there's a summary here that we have for 20 projects that were completed were under budget by $226,000. 11 projects were completed over budget by $169,000, and there's 29 projects that are ongoing and are being carried forward to 2020. So for the 11 projects that were completed over budget, there are 3 projects that make up the majority of that amount, one of them being the Marina washroom. And so the total for this project was $208,000, and actual cost amounted to $262,000. So it was over budget by 26%, and that is due to engineering fees that were not included in the original budgetary estimate. Now, approval has been obtained from the Yacht Club to fund the cost overage from the Marina Reserve Fund. The second item would be culvert repairs. The total budget for culvert repairs was $70,000, and actuals amounted to $106,000. And so that was 52% over budget, and that represents about 20% of the total cost overage. And this is primarily due to an unplanned culvert failure on Side Road 10, which required replacement in order to reopen the road. And that would be funded from the Life Cycle Reserve Fund. And the other one was Broadway Street, which required surface paving in 2019, and there was additional works on the water main and for cleaning up underground servicing, and that caused the project to be over budget by $55,000. So those 3 projects combined represent 86% of the total projects that exceeded budget. So there's some detail on all of the projects in the attached spreadsheets, as well as a summary. Overall, it resulted in cost savings. So our cost savings was $58,000 on projects that were under budget. And so Council is being requested to approve and authorize the reserve and reserve fund transfers as per the report.
So you've heard the recommendation, and we'll have a mover and seconder. And then we'll have discussion if it's fair.
Moved by Marie Wilson, seconded by Dave Collier.
Is there any further discussion now or questions for Roxana?
Question, Bill.
Yes, Bill.
Roxanne, I understand number 2, the culvert repairs, and number 3, the Broadway Street. And this question is probably to Michelle. The Marine washroom, we really didn't manage this project very well. If we have an overage of $53,000, and that was due to engineering costs, that would put engineering costs for a $200,000 project at 25%. That seems to be awful high. What happened there? Can anyone explain that to us?
I might defer this to Karen for a recreation project.
Sorry, Karen. Sorry, Michelle.
Yeah, no, that's me. So the majority of it was for engineering, Councillor Stewart. There were a couple of other things that were added as the project took place, some things that were extra to the project. So I wouldn't say it was all for engineering, but engineering and some contingency items were to do with that overage.
Who were the engineers, follow-up, who's the engineers for this project?
The engineers were BM Ross.
Okay. I'm disappointed by this, to be honest with you.
Okay, any other comments? Or questions?
Yeah, it's me, Ann.
Yes. Dave?
Dave, yeah. Why did we add things onto it to go over budget? Was there a good reason for doing it?
There were some things that were required to make the project become a reality. I don't have the list in front of me, but I can certainly email to council what the specific items were that were included in the contingency items.
I don't remember being consulted about anything of that. Was that brought back to us?
There was nothing brought back to council once the project started, no.
Why not?
Decisions were made as we went in consultation with the yacht club, and certainly if council wants us to come back with overages for all the projects, I can do that.
That would be
I apologize.
To do it.
Rain here.
Yes, just a sec. I was going to say, Karen, if you can, just people are interested in knowing those details. So if you could just bring it back or send it out by email as to other than the fees.
Yes, I will do that for sure. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Marie.
It's Bill Stewart here. Sorry, go Marie.
Marine's next.
Yeah, that's why you have a contingency on all these projects. You don't want people coming back to council for 5 extra yards of gravel and blah, blah, blah every time. And that's why we have it included in the budget, which we approve. So unless something's, and I think it's probably the engineering that went overboard, but certainly Aaron can clarify whether the add-ons were included in the contingency or not. And I think when it's not included in the contingency, then that's when she comes back. Or anyone.
Very good.
Okay.
It's Bill here. Can we get a copy also of the engineering part of the cost too? I'd like a breakdown of everything if you don't mind, Karen.
Sure, we can do that. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Karen.
Is there anything else? And the recommendation is the council authorize just a minute, have I got the right one here? That authorize the reserve and reserve fund transfers as per the attached 2019 summary of reserve and reserve fund transfer schedule.
It was already moved by Marie Wilson, seconded by Dave Cott.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried. Okay, thank you. So next we have, let's see, we're at 6.2b. And it is the COVID-19 pandemic property tax and utilities financial assistance. And I'll turn it back to Roxana again.
Okay, thank you. As a result of the widespread closure of non-essential businesses and the declaration of a state of emergency by the province of Ontario due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many Kincardine businesses and residents are being financially impacted, and staff have put together several recommendations in order to defer the financial burden to ratepayers. Property taxes are billed twice a year. Interim taxes, which are equivalent to 50% of prior year taxes, were billed in February and are due, or were due on March 2nd and on June 1st. And final taxes are billed in August and represent the balance of the taxes owing for the current year. So that's due on September 1st and December 1st. In total, the municipality bills about $32 million in taxes each year. That includes the county and the education as well. And thus far for 2020, we've billed $15.2 million in taxes, split between March and June installments. To date, we've collected $8.5 million of the interim taxes billed, and again, that represents the municipal, county, and education taxes. As you would already know, the province has provided a 90-day deferral of the June 30th quarterly education property tax remittance to school boards. The remittance, which would have been due on June 30th, is now due on September 30th, and the remittance, which would have been due on September 30th, is now due on December 15th. The regular December 15th remittance remains unchanged, which means for the municipality there will be 2 substantial payments due in the month of December, and interest is applicable if the municipality is late in making these payments. Lower tier treasurers have been in discussions with Bruce County staff, and we are hopeful that the lower tiers will see some similar relief at the county level as well. So there are several recommendations being put forward by staff to provide some level of financial relief, and I'll just go through them all. It's not really options, it's more kind of recommending that all of these items be implemented. So with respect to taxes, the first one being to waive the interest on 2020 interim bill taxes for the months of April, May, June, and July, providing a 60-day grace period beyond the next tax due date of June 1st. Penalties and interest on 2020 billings would recommence on August 1st. The June 1st installment date will remain the same in order to encourage those who can pay to continue to do so and to assist with the municipality's cash flow. And the second recommendation is to defer, and I actually want to modify this. I'll explain in a second. It states to defer the September 1st installment date to October 1st to avoid stacking payments late in the year, and this would allow 2 months between the remaining payments of October 1st and December 1st. And the modification that I would like to propose would be to actually take the same approach as we did for the first piece. Instead of deferring the actual installment date, it would be just waiving the interest for the September 1st payment to the following month of October 1st. So basically the approach would be the same. It would not be moving the dates, it's just deferring the interest. So essentially the taxes would still be due on those dates of March, June, September, and December, but we would just be deferring the interest. So it would encourage those that can pay to pay by the deadline, but those who cannot pay would be given that grace period. The third recommendation would be to allow ratepayers to, on monthly payment plans, to opt out of their payments for May and June, and that would allow ratepayers on due dates PAPs to opt out of the June 2nd installment and have it withdrawn on August 1st. If either group needed a longer time period, they could cancel the PAP and pay according to the new due dates set forth above. As well, we are suggesting that the returned payment fee of $45 on any payments returned between April 1st and July 2nd be waived. The fourth recommendation is to allow ratepayers who have provided post-dated checks dated June 1st to have them returned or destroyed upon request with a waiver of the $18 retrieval fee. They would then be responsible for sending a new check or paying using online or telephone banking. The fifth recommendation would be to waive the arrears statement fee of $5 for taxes for the months of April, May, June, and July. Then for utilities, there's also several recommendations. So the first being to waive interest, and it takes the same approach as the taxes. So to waive interest applied on 2020 billings for the months of April, May, June, and July, providing a 90-day grace period for North Route customers, which would normally be due April 30th, and a 30-day grace period for South Route customers, normally due June 30th. The second piece would be to allow ratepayers on the monthly PIP to opt out of the monthly payments. So that's the same as for the taxes. And the third point being to allow ratepayers who provided post-dated checks for April 30th and June 30th to have them returned or destroyed upon request, again with a waiver of the retrieval fee. And finally, to waive the arrears statement fee for utilities for the months of April to July. So a quick estimate of the financial impact of waiving interest and the return payment fees and statement fees between April, May, June, and July would be about $85,000. So staff is recommending all of those items in the report for council consideration and for amendments to the taxation bylaws, the interim taxation bylaw, as well as exemptions to the necessary rates and fees bylaw and the accounts receivable policies.
Thank you, Roxana. So does anybody have any comments or questions for Roxana?
It's Laura.
Yes, Laura.
I appreciate the approach, Roxana. I really appreciate it, and I think this will get us to the period where the federal supports with respect to unemployment insurance and the $2,000 a month will actually come into play. So I think that's carried. What I'm more intrigued about is the county levy. And I would like to add to this motion, not that I don't trust the bureaucracy that exists, but I would like to add to the motion that we request the county not charge arrears on deferred tax payments from lower tiers, and that too be given an extension to all lower tiers in the county. If Jen can come up with some wording on that, I'd just like to make it formal that that's not just coming from our treasurer and CIO, that's actually coming from Kincardine Council as a request to County Council. Ann.
Okay, thank you. So we'll give Jen a minute or two to do that. Are there any other comments or questions for Roxana?
Maureen?
Yes, Maureen?
I support the proposal. I think this will give people a cash flow relief and doesn't pile things up at this point in the calendar year, which is quite bad for some people.
Just Doug.
Jerry, I'll support that.
Doug?
Yep. Doug just supporting it the same way. This will give people a chance to collect unemployment and different things that'll help them out to get back to a little closer to normals.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions then? Good comments. And Jen, did you have some wording just to add to the recommendation?
I have a question, Ann. Bill?
Oh, okay. Yes, Bill?
I'm a little concerned. I really like this, and I think it's a great plan, and thank you, staff, for doing it. The thing I really worry about is our cash flow. Roxana, you're giving people a 60-day window. I mean, you know, a lot of us can afford this, but you do give people the option now not to pay their taxes for 60 days. So, you know, out of the $7 million we're supposed to get for a June 1st one, if we only end up with half of that, how is that's going to hurt us? Can we afford it? Do we have enough cash flow? Because, you know, it doesn't say anywhere that people have to pay their June 1st. We're just hoping they're going to be good citizens and do it if they can afford to do it.
Yes, that's true. And staff wouldn't really be putting this forward if we didn't think we could make it work. I mean, we do have a line of credit. If we had to pull on it, we could. We've never had to before, but if we needed to, we would have that option available to us. It would definitely be beneficial if the county followed suit with the province to allow us the flexibility, because if we did have to make those payments to the county, then I would be more concerned. But I'm hopeful that that won't be the case. I do think that a 60-day, I'm hopeful that a lot of, especially with the mortgage companies, I'm hoping that there will be payments that are still made on the due date. A lot of companies don't alter their due dates, and I've tried to adopt an approach that's consistent with what the best practices have been so far in the industry and in the sector. So that's why I put this forward as is. I know that there's some municipalities that are perhaps more able to be even more flexible than we are, but I think we can make this work.
Great, I appreciate it. Just one comment. If you wouldn't mind putting on your calendar someplace in June, like the second meeting in June, tell us how we're doing compared to cash flow and how many people sent in their rent or their taxes on June 1st. I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Give
us an update, please.
Thank you. Sure. So Jen has the recommendation with the county part added. If you want to read the whole recommendation now as it stands.
That the 2020 taxation bylaw be amended as per the recommendations per report Treasury 2020-04, and that Council grant authority to the Treasurer, Director of Finance to make exemptions to the 2020 rates and fees bylaw in order to waive fees and charges as per report Treasury 2020-04, and further that Council grant authority to the Treasurer, Director of Finance to make exemptions to Accounts Receivable Policy GG 2.20 to implement the recommendations for utility billings as per report Treasury 2020-04, and further that the County of Bruce be requested to not charge arrears on municipal taxes for the 60-day grace period.
All right. So we have our move.
Actually,
yes, Laura.
Sorry, I think it's Laura. I think I'd like to adjust that to refer to their levy due dates be adjusted in accordance with lower tiers.
Can I just make a comment on that? It's actually more complicated to to move the due dates for the county, and all of the lower tiers have actually different due dates, so we don't all have the same due date. So
Okay,
it would
fair
actually be more feasible to have the original option that you recommended.
Okay, you sold me.
Okay. Sorry, I've lost track. It was moved by...
Moved by Randy Ropel, seconded by Laura Haight.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yep.
Opposed? Abstainers? And that carried. So I think it's the right thing to do for this time. There are unusual circumstances, and there's some families where both have lost their jobs, and just hits them out of the blue. So that's good. Now, next is 6.2C, which is the clerk's electronic participation at council meetings. And I'll turn it to Donna. Are you there?
I am here. So at the last meeting, council passed the bylaw to allow themselves to attend meetings through electronic when there is an emergency, a declared emergency in the municipality. So we're just recommending that the procedure bylaw be amended to extend this avenue of participation to the clerk and other municipal staff as well. Now, an observant person might say, well, how did we do the last two meetings with the clerk not there? But that's the reason why Jennifer Laurie, deputy clerk, has been in the council chamber. She's been acting as clerk for these two meetings until we get it in writing from council that they agree with this approach.
Okay.
I move the recommendation. Maureen.
I think Jen has somebody already.
Sorry, Maureen, I already chose Doug Kennedy and Marie Wilson.
Oh, fine.
So I must say, as mayor, it is kind of lonely here. I do appreciate Jen coming as clerk, and I won't stop the clerk from coming if she wants to come, but depending on circumstances, it's maybe good to have that in the recommendations. So the recommendation, just a minute here. Got to get to the other one. The recommendation, the procedure bylaw number 2013-161 be amended to provide that the clerk and other staff members may attend council meetings electronically during a declared emergency in the municipality. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried. So next we go to 6.2D, which is the municipal response to COVID-19 pandemic and delegation of authority, and this will be Sharon's report.
Thank you, Mayor Eadie. This report is actually coming back. Council considered the delegation of authority bylaw on March 30th, and it was deferred due to concerns that were expressed by Council at that time. Council were to forward any concerns specifically relating to the bylaw to the CAO prior to the April 6th meeting so that we could consider possible amendments to this bylaw. However, we didn't receive any specific concerns from Council, and so the bylaw is brought back as it was presented on March 30th without modification. Since that time, I have spoken to the other CAOs in the county, and I believe that all municipalities in Bruce County have passed a delegation of authority bylaw. This is the intent of passing this bylaw is not to use it routinely, but I think we have to remember that there is a possibility at some point in time that council, even though they're able to meet at this point in time, they may not be able to form a quorum at some point in the future because this is a health emergency. So staff has prepared some more detail in the report this evening. There are some routine administrative matters that we would like to be able to exercise this delegation of authority for. Things like signing of checks, waiving of rates and fees with relating to canceled programs and things like that. It would be very cumbersome to have to bring to council continuously. And then for larger decisions, the CAO would only exercise as per Section 3 and 4 of the bylaw, which set out that detail of how it relates to responding to an emergency, and I would have to report to council on how I've exercised that authority. The mayor also has input into the decision making, and I have been keeping council and staff up to date on everything that we've been doing since the outset of this pandemic through daily emails, and the mayor and I are in contact several times a day to keep her up to date on any issues that are occurring as the situation evolves. It is a rapidly evolving health emergency, and we are constantly in contact with the medical officer of health, and he does reiterate the need to, wherever possible, remove bureaucracy in order to be nimble and respond to any needs that the community may have. So we have the bylaw again presented for council's consideration, and myself or any of the staff here on the call tonight would be happy to answer any concerns that council may have.
So just before we have the discussion on it, I apologize, Sharon. I thought we had to have it in by Wednesday at noon, and my week got ahead of me, and I actually didn't get looking at this until the weekend. But I did talk to some others, and the wording maybe is a bit different. As one is sort of, or the thoughts are different. There's no delegation of authority unless a quorum of council requirement for electronic meeting cannot be met. That was one. And another one, there wasn't a delegation of authority, but the mayor and deputy mayor, they give them more authority for okaying. I can't remember what the number was, whether it was over 50,000 or up to 100,000 or something like that. I think it was just over 50,000. So I just wanted that there for council's information. So do we have some discussion now?
I would like to read a comment.
Sorry. Maureen?
And Marie.
Anne Marie.
I specifically asked for deferment last week, and as it turned out, against my better judgment, which I tried to explain. But anyway, to allow councillors who expressed concern to submit. And if no one did so, then I'm very disappointed. And we had a very long discussion last week for nothing, obviously. So I am prepared to support this as is, and has come back to council as it is. And that's it. Thanks.
Next, Marie.
Yes, I supported this last week too for what I thought were good reasons, and my support has not changed. I think this is something that is only going to be used in the case of an emergency. Both the mayor and CAO will have input into this together, and this is not going to undermine council's responsibility in any sense. We still have responsibility ultimately, and I really think that we need to go forward with this, as have the other 7 municipalities in Bruce County. So I'm going to totally support it.
It's Laura.
Yes, Laura?
A couple of things. I think it's really important to realize that staff will need some flexibility during an emergency. Things that are not anticipated may happen if half of us are down sick. And I appreciate, Anne, the fact of not being able to make quorum. But I think we have to appreciate that we've got policies in place, we've got good quality staff in place, we've got an emergency plan in place, which we've actually planned for an emergency something like this. We have to give them the flexibility to operate that way. With respect to having the mayor and the deputy mayor, I have a concern with that. And my concern is we can, and I'm sorry, Sharon, Roxana, all the rest, we have control over staff. If they overstep this authority, we can get rid of those staff. And I know that sounds harsh, but we couldn't do that if, say, the mayor and the deputy mayor decided to go off willy-nilly and make an expenditure that they wanted to make that the rest of council didn't agree with. That ensures that Sharon and the senior staff will actually keep the goals and the interests of the municipality at the forefront. And they won't be serving their own interests. They will, by necessity, be serving the interests of the municipality. I support the bylaw as it is. I supported it last week, and I think we should just move forward.
Yes, sir.
Bill here.
Yes, Bill?
I didn't support this last. I'm so sorry, Sharon. I had this all written on my desk, and I forgot to send it in to you with the corrections. The one thing I would definitely like to see is that the chief CAO also, along with either the deputy mayor, and it's not quite written that way, but the CAO, along with the mayor or deputy mayor, make those decisions. And we, as council, are notified within 24 hours, and if we feel that we necessary, then set up a special meeting. But any decisions between, the CAO and the mayor on this emergency thing will have to be informed to council, either by email or by phone within 24 hours, with the cause that we might need to have a special meeting on it. I don't want this thing to get carried away.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Right now, it looks like we give it to Sharon.
Dave here, Ann.
Yes, Dave?
I won't take up a whole lot of time. I agree with Bill. I think that's the right way to do it.
And I do believe the bylaw states that the CAO would report to council anytime they exercise this bylaw. But I do want to point out to council that there are some routine administrative matters that we are requesting for in this delegation of authority bylaw, and we can sort of summarize how those are exercised, but they really are relating to just the new way that we have to do business, in the fact that the mayor is not regularly attending the municipal administration center, and we have staff that are not there, so we don't have these routines any longer where we're signing checks and those sorts of things. And I could ask Roxana to speak to this, but I know we haven't been able to pay any bills in the last week since we haven't had this delegation of authority. So I want to be clear that there may be some of those minor administrative functions in this delegation that would routinely be exercised, but any of these larger, broader decisions, that we would have to respond to very quickly, we would do so in consultation with the mayor, and we would advise council immediately.
Thank you, Sharon.
Roxana, did you want to add to that in any way?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So we've been able to get approvals from the mayor electronically for our EFT payments. One of the issues is that the bylaw specifically requires a manual signature by both the treasurer and the mayor for all checks over $5,000. We have the ability to have digital checks done, and we do that for all checks under $5,000. But because we cannot get physical signatures from the two of us, we have not been able to issue any checks since the delegation bylaw was not approved last week. So that's one thing that's being deferred. The other issue would be the purchasing and procurement policy. There are very specific requirements in the policy that we don't have the discretion to overturn, and we would require council's authority for quite a few sections under there every time we are accepting tenders. One example being tenders are supposed to be opened in the presence of the department head, the treasurer, and the mayor, and that simply can't happen under the current circumstances. So those are the types of things that wouldn't really be one-offs in an emergency, that we would require this approval going forward until the pandemic crisis is over.
So you're saying that you want this delegation of authority to come into effect immediately?
Yes, that's correct.
Bill here, comment. Roxana, thank you very much for explaining that, because I see my way to approve this if that's all you're looking for is sort of that routine stuff because of the situation that we have, that not everyone is available. So I understand that. And, I could probably support that then.
Doug here. I just think that we had 7 days to respond to this, and nobody responded, and this is important to let our staff do their job, and I'm going to fully support it.
I agree.
So as far as signing things, until you get your digital signatures, I have no problem signing. I just didn't come in because I wasn't told to come in.
And do we really want staff dropping checks off, or you dropping checks off to staff and having that much tactile contact with checks?
No, I'm just saying until we get something in place. That's I just it's the digital signature. I think everybody's going that way anyway, and that's something that is. I think some municipalities do that already.
And that's why we're hoping to have this passed tonight, because even with our internal protocols now around handling of paper, those things need to be isolated for 48 hours because the virus actually lives on paper for that long. So it definitely slows down our administrative processes. And so we're trying to be as nimble as we can so that we can continue to do business as seamlessly as possible.
So does anybody else have any more comments?
Just I would ask that you put the question, please.
Yes, I agree.
I'd like a recorded vote too.
I just wanted to make one more thing that, I'm sorry, it's wide open then for 2 years. I was wondering if we could have it revisited in 2 months, 3 months, and just have a discussion then, and it can easily be extended. That was all I was wanting to say. And that I would be more comfortable if, if everybody's comfortable with no end date, because we don't know when this is going to end.
It could be repealed at any time. Pardon me, Mary. It can be repealed at any time by council if they feel that the emergency no longer exists.
Okay, so that's just the clarification I wanted. All right, so we've got a recorded vote asked for.
Maureen Couture?
Yes.
Dave Kyler?
Did you say me?
Yep.
No.
Jerry Glover?
Yes.
Laura Haight?
Yes.
Doug Kennedy?
Yes.
Randy Ropel?
No.
Bill Stewart?
No.
Marie Wilson?
Yes.
Ann Eadie?
Am I the deciding vote here? Well, I will support it on the condition that it is, now that I have the information, it can be repealed. It won't go on for forever, because I think it's important that it be reviewed, and we are able to have
that would be a yes,
quorum.
Ann. You just declare your vote.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's my reasoning for yes.
So it carries.
Next, just a sec. Have to get back in. Okay. The county council update. Yes? Oh, right, our addition to the agenda, sorry. So our addition to the agenda, Jen, again, if you could just state it.
Sorry, the addition to the agenda was the Community Recovery Center.
Right, and so we've been working on this the last week or so. I'll let Sharon give an update. She's been more involved.
Okay, so the medical officer of health has been working with Bruce and Grey counties on finding some locations for pop-up hospitals or recovery centers in the Grey Bruce region. It was actually brought to our attention by Bruce County through the CEMC, contacted me and wanted to be able to speak to my staff to determine the feasibility of using the Davidson Center for such a facility. And so we were looking at the facility. They asked me to appoint a lead, so I appointed Kevin McNeely as the fire chief, as the primary municipal liaison, with Shane Watson, our alternate CEMC and SPO, providing logistical support just to review that facility to see whether it would be feasible for such an initiative. They're planning for 3 such recovery center sites in the region. The second site being considered is Hanover at the P&H Center, and the third location is undisclosed at this time and would only be implemented if the need arises. The project is financially supported by Bruce Power, and Bruce Power will also be procuring goods and supplies and providing a design and layout for the facility. The facility is planned for 50 beds. It has not been determined if they are going to be COVID or non-COVID patients. It could be a recovery facility for non-COVID patients who are recovering or who are waiting to be transferred to long-term care. And this facility will only be used if the hospital capacity is exceeded due to an outbreak, which would require overflow to the recovery center. So we really started just looking at this issue in detail last week to see whether the facility would be viable. We were doing an investigation as to the electrical, because each of these 50 beds would require electricity to them, and they would be partitioned off. And so Chief Kevin McNeely and Shane Watson have been meeting with the Grey Bruce Public Health Unit and working to facilitate how we would move forward with those physical and mechanical requirements for the facility. And the goal of the public health is to have that facility staged and ready to go within 2 weeks. So up until the end of last week, we were really looking at it in terms of investigation and whether this could be feasible. And then at the end of the week, there was a rather quick announcement by the county. I think there were maybe some news interviews that were given, and it was becoming public, and so they really wanted to make the announcement rather quickly as to this location. So that's essentially where we're at. I had a conference call this morning with the county and the medical officer of health, and we're just moving through all the logistical pieces of this. In terms of any costs, Bruce Power has committed to covering those costs, so any costs that we incur, we would be forwarding to the public health unit, and they would be covering all the costs associated with this. So I would be happy to answer any questions, or Anne may have some input as well. And this was a county project and was originally initiated by Bruce and Grey County.
I might have a question, Doug, here.
Sure.
Okay, what part of the Davidson Center were they thinking?
So they're actually thinking of the area with the basketball court.
Yeah, okay.
And so we are looking at, I believe the Kinsmen are going to be doing some work, or have volunteered to do some work to construct the partitions and those sorts of things. And we're making sure that if there would be any damage to the floors and the facilities, that we would have those conversations as to how that would be put back to the state that it was prior to using this. I know Dr. Ara, the medical officer of health, said that his greatest hope is that we would stage this facility and never have to use it. But it is their goal is to get it up and ready very quickly. We never know how quickly this disease is going to advance in our community, and their primary concern is to move quickly to ensure that we are able to support the healthcare needs if they were to progress to that stage in the community.
Yes, so when they asked
Question.
us... Yes. Sorry, who is
Question,
it?
Bill?
Bill? Yes.
First of all, I would like to maybe ask Councillor Glover to make his opinion on this. He's the only one that really has medical experience in this. Jerry, if you wouldn't mind making some comments around this, if you feel comfortable.
Bill, I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute. Sharon maybe didn't stress enough that this has gone through the normal Grey Bruce Public Health, and Dr. Era is taking pretty well the lead on this, and they have plans. You know, this is not just a plan that somebody dreamt up in the clouds or anything. Public health is basically the lead for the whole health aspect of it, and there's been considerable considerations about the logistics with Bruce Power, and so I just want to make that clear that there's been lots of medical expertise.
Why are we having discussion if this is already proven to be yes? Why are we even having a discussion?
This is an update for you, but if you had any questions, and I'm willing if you want to get Jerry's take on this, but I just thought maybe you didn't I wanted council to understand that all the medical aspects of this have been considered as well. Okay, and Jerry, if you want to ask something.
Sure, thanks. I can confirm that this show has been the surface or topic of conversation for the past couple of weeks now. This is being led in whole by public health, and speaking directly with Dr. Era, that this will go ahead regardless, either way, within the next few weeks as a prophylactic for worst case scenario. We are coordinating and having discussions through the local incident management table, which is beyond me, but there's people locally that sit on that regional table and having those facilitated conversations with public health and Bruce Power. But at this time, it is public health leading this, and the direction from the Ministry of Health is that we comply with all federal and provincial public health initiatives and direction at this time.
Thank you. I have 4 questions I'd like to ask for clarification. Have we talked to our insurance company, and have they approved this?
So the insurance came up this morning, that issue on that call. I'll let Sharon, if you want to say anything on that insurance.
Yes, so we are speaking to our insurer on this, but this situation has evolved rather quickly, so I don't believe we have a comment back from them, but it is certainly something that has been raised. And Dr. Ara has had this conversation with the Ministry of Health as well, and they are certainly, I guess, aware that they would cover any concerns that we would have, but we certainly have to have confirmation from our insurer before we would proceed, as well as to whether we would have to have some sort of a rider. From the conversation this morning with Dr. Ara, it seems as though there are different provisions relating to emergencies.
Okay. Second question. Where's the staff coming from, the medical staff, to support this 50 pop-up hospital?
So they do not, as of yet, have a third party to operate the facility, and they are looking at a number of different avenues for a third party that would come in and operate it. So it could potentially be the military, it could be Red Cross, it could be the hospital. They haven't determined that yet. So the focus at this point in time is to get the facility up and ready, get it staged, get all of those physical and mechanical requirements there, and they're going to be working on the next piece as to who would actually operate the facility in the event that it is needed.
Third question I have is that there's going to be a lot of supplies required, like the beds and everything else associated. PPE equipment and everything else, I see that Bruce Power, which is a privately owned company, is willing to support $300,000. But what happens if this thing gets out of line, or we get sued, or there's some liability issues? I mean, they're a privately held company. I'm a little surprised that the province, maybe the province health isn't supporting this. I worry about only getting private enterprise to support something like this, that we don't really know the cost. We don't really know what's going on. Last time we dealt with Bruce Power, it didn't work out in our favor too much. I'm worried about having a private industry supporting this.
Bill,
Totally.
sorry, Sharon. I received a call today from Bruce Power. They are totally committed to this, and they have already ordered all the things you mentioned, the beds, the PPE, whatever is necessary to get this up and running. And I don't know whether Sharon received a call this afternoon or not, but I did. So
to follow up, I would like to see the contract between us and Bruce Power when it's available, please.
That is through
but I would
the
offer,
group.
if I could interject, so Dr. Ara has been very clear that we are to report to public health on this issue. So there is no agreement between us and Bruce Power. We are providing all of our invoices to Grey Bruce Public Health, and they are dealing with that issue. So if they have an arrangement with Bruce Power for procurement and covering of costs, that's between Bruce Power and Grey Bruce Public Health. If this is a public health emergency, we have a contract
with medical. Yes. A follow-up question.
Sorry, Sharon.
Will we have a contract between the regional and ourselves? The regional health unit and ourselves?
We do not have a contract, although we have discussed on a call this morning about, detailing all of the logistical implications around this project and covering of costs. And they have assured us that they've been having conversations with the ministry and that there is nothing for us to worry about in those terms. But we will continue those conversations with the health unit and trying to sort out the details of that. But they have assured us this is a public health emergency and they will be taking care of covering those costs. And Bruce Power has stated to Grey Bruce Public Health that they will be covering the costs for this emergency, so for this recovery center.
I can support the recovery center. I'm just really concerned about the logistics around it, and I hope we're on top of it because, I think it's a great thing. It's wonderful that our community can do this, but I'm really concerned about some of the logistics and some of the consequences. So I hope everyone's on top of this. I couldn't support this, but I'm not asked to support it.
I have every confidence as mayor that the process is in place as it should be. And I have been involved with the Grey Bruce Health Unit. I sit on it. They are very competent. They have the expertise and they take the lead on this. They've got the full support of Bruce Power. The county is also acting in an oversight role to a certain degree, but the health unit takes the lead. We have 3 county councillors on the health unit from Bruce and 4 from Grey County. So, and along with they consult with the ministry, of course, from the health unit. But anyway, that's my input. It has been hectic, but as we quickly learned, there's no time to put up a recovery center if you wait until for sure you need it. So I'm very pleased that Kincardine was chosen, and I want to thank Bruce Power for their quick action on this and other initiatives. We've had updates. There's another town hall this week. I know they're having 2 this week, one for Grey Bruce and I think one for here in Perth. One's Wednesday and one's Thursday, but I'm sure there's be lots of information on that. This is huge, that we don't have to worry about the financing to this degree. And yes, you want things written down, but that I trust our staff to look after that as well as the health unit staff. and Bruce Power. Sharon, this was for your information, and if you had questions about it, but this is mainly an item for information, unless Sharon has more to add.
No, I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have. As I said, it's evolved very rapidly over the past few days. Our staff is working with Grey Bruce Public Health to meet any needs that the facility may have, and we will keep council apprised of the situation as it develops.
So I think if there's nothing else, I'll just go into my mayor's update or county update. So Sharon has covered off. I had it in as an item on mine, but we added it to the regular agenda. So I won't give any more on that, except I'm very grateful to the people involved that are working very hard to get this up and running for us. And then the other item is, maybe some of you have heard my message to the public this week, and just for your review, and in case anybody watching this program hasn't heard it, so I'll just, I might not quite read it all, but I'll read the main part. As mayor, I want to speak to all our residents and visitors in the municipality of Kincardine. The next 2 weeks are a very crucial time to flatten out the curve in our fight against COVID-19. I strongly support the March 26th recommendation of our local medical officer of health, Dr. Eadie, which is, we need everyone to stop non-essential travel going outside of Grey Bruce counties as well as into Grey Bruce. If our local residents know any seasonal cottagers or any visitors who normally come to the municipality of Kincardine and other Grey Bruce areas, please ask them to stay home until this crisis is over. Dr. Teresa Tam, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, and Dr. David Williams, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, have also given this message over the past week. We are a rural area which does not have the healthcare capacity to handle the possible surge related to the COVID-19 crisis or the essential business stocking capability at this time. After this crisis is over, we will welcome all of our visitors back again in true Kincardine style. So I want to add, and then I put the message from the health unit on as well, on the media release. So I want to add, this has been a very difficult message for me to give, because I love welcoming all our cottagers back and any visitors to the municipality of Kincardine. We have a beautiful municipality. I'm extremely proud of it, and it is only because this is a necessary thing to understand in rural areas about our health services. And I did have one email, and at least concerned about water cutoff to seasonal cottages. The municipality of Kincardine, that is not an order that we put out at all. So I just want people to know that that is not with the municipality of Kincardine. So I have an additional message. I cannot stress enough that even with the good weather and all the good things people have been doing, I go out for the odd little walk in my neighborhood or down to the trails. Everybody that I've met practices the distancing. A lot of people are practicing the self-isolating if required. And but we need to keep it up. It's absolutely crucial that we don't relax anything and think, well, we're doing pretty well, especially with the warm weather coming. And I know, parents, it'll be hard to keep your children on your property, and and not wanting to ride their bikes or meet their friends. But it's absolutely crucial. They are saying April will tell the tale on how successful we've been, so it's up to each of us to keep doing this. And so I'm confident we can do it. We just have to be persistent. And I'll turn to the Mayor's Challenge for a little bright spot here. I want to congratulate the children and teens that did submit to the Mayor's Challenge. I hope to receive many more. They're great projects, and if the public wants to go on and see some of the projects the children have done and teens, it's just great. It's a positive. People are thinking of things they can do, and so are our children and teens. So as mayor, now I'm talking about my own private money, and with my Scottish heritage here, which includes giving as well as receiving, I am thinking of donating 4 random prizes of $50 each to the children and teens that tell us what they're doing as far as a good deed, cheering somebody up, learning things. You can see the criteria on the website. So, in conclusion, I want everybody to continue to find safe activities that you and your family enjoy each day. We are Kincardine strong and Bruce County tough. Thank you. So I'll move to the consent agenda now. Did anybody have anything that they wanted to withdraw from the consent agenda tonight? Just get back to it here. Okay, hearing nothing. And And Sharon, I must remember as head of council, I got an announcement yesterday, and I must ask you afterwards if you received it as well. There's been the odd time that staff doesn't get an announcement that I get. So we'll move to adjourn Committee of the Whole.
So moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Randy Ropel, that this Committee of the Whole adjourn at 6:51 p.m.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried. So we're back to council. And we have matters arising from Committee of the Whole.
So moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Doug Kennedy, that council approve the recommendations contained in the consent agenda.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yep.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
Moved by Marie Wilson, seconded by Dave Kyler, whereas pursuant to the Safe Drinking Water Act 2002 and Ontario Regulation 453-7, financial plans are required for municipal drinking water license applications. Now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Kincardine approve the Municipality of Kincardine Water Financial Plan dated March 26, 2020, and further that Kincardine area and Tiverton area drinking water systems are financially viable, and further that Council receive the water wastewater rate study as presented by Hempson Consultants.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
Yep.
Did you say opposed, Dave?
No, I said yes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I was just late saying it, that's all.
All right. Abstainers? Motion carried.
So this is the agreement with private landowners residing on the south side of Hunter Street, and that's Maureen Couture and Jerry Glover.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Opposed? Abstainers? And that carried.
So this is moved by Randy Ropel, seconded by Laura Haight, that council approve staff to utilize Section 17 negotiated purchase policy GG 2.17 to hire ACON to construct the KIP Trail in line with the gas project at their quoted price of $1,217,152.66, including applicable taxes, should funding from the ICIP grant be successful, per report Number Public Works 2020-10.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
So this is Doug Kennedy and Marie Wilson for the McGilvery Drain Agreement Bylaw number 2020-058.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
This is for the Hot Mix Paving 2020 Harold Sutherland Construction Limited tender. It's moved by Dave Kyler, seconded by Maureen Couture, and it's bylaw 2020-059.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
So this is moved by Jerry Glover, seconded by Bill Stewart. It's the Crack Ceiling Runway 05-23 ALK Asphalt Maintenance Limited, and that would be bylaw 2020-060.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
Moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Doug Kennedy. This is the Tandem Plow Sander Truck Highway Western Star Inc. RFP acceptance, and that would be bylaw 2020-061.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
Moved by Marie Wilson, seconded by Dave Kyler. This would be the tired articulated loader from Brant Tractor Limited RFP acceptance bylaw, and that would be bylaw 2020-062.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? That carried.
Moved by Maureen Couture, seconded by Jerry Glover, that council recommend the bag tag program continue status quo and have staff provide a free temporary home delivery with online order form for tag.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried.
Moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Randy Ropel, that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine approve the additional funding from reserve funds relating to the 2019 capital project cost overages as per Treasury Report 2020-03.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried.
And this is moved by Doug Kennedy, seconded by Marie Wilson, that council grant authority to the Treasurer, Director of Finance to make exemptions to the 2020 rates and fees in order to waive fees and charges. And further, that council grant authority to the Treasurer, Director of Finance to make exemptions to the accounts receivable policy GG 2.20 to implement the recommendations for utility billings. And that's all per Treasury 2020-04.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? And the motion carried.
And moved by Jerry Glover, seconded by Bill Stewart. This would be the 2020 Taxation Amendment Bylaw, and that would be 2020-065.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried.
And the next is moved by Dave Kyler, seconded by Maureen Couture, and that's Municipality of Kincardine 2013 Procedure Bylaw Amendment 12 Bylaw, and that's 2020-063.
Any further discussion?
I just want to clarify, is that to do with the clerk being able to call in?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? The motion carried.
Okay, the next one is moved by Maureen Couture, seconded by Laura Haight, and that's the Delegation of Authority Bylaw 2020-064.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
No.
No, just wait. I've asked for all in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a recorded vote. Oh.
There wasn't any ask for a recorded vote again. But if you want to do a recorded vote, it might be easier, Jim.
Maureen Couture?
Okay, let's do a recorded vote.
Okay.
Maureen Couture?
Yes.
Dave Kyler?
No.
Jerry Glover?
Yeah.
Laura Haight?
Yes.
Doug Kennedy?
Yes.
Randy Ropel?
No.
Bill Stewart?
No.
Marie Wilson?
Yes.
And Ann Eadie?
Yes.
And it carries.
That's it for matters arising? All right. So
I think that's enough.
we've done a lot tonight. So members of council, general announcements, and I will start with Doug Kennedy tonight.
No problem. Just it's really important now more than ever. You know, I know we get so busy in life that we don't communicate with family that we're close to when we were younger, and friends and their parents and grandparents. And I just, Kathy and I have kind of made it a goal every day. We call at least a couple of people from our past spread out all across Canada and the U.S. To talk to them. And I just think that's a message that I think we see it out there, but I just think it's really important to follow up with.
Thank you, Deb.
Yep.
Laura?
First things first, the trails are open. There's been some confusion of late, and some things have happened, but there was a little bit of concern today that the trails were actually closed and the police were enforcing that. That's not the case. The police had made an error. They've been informed now that our municipal trails are open. Please, 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 though, everyone, you've got to maintain that physical distance between everybody. So enjoy the trails. I know it'll keep you sane. And speaking of sanity, don't feel alone if you've had a panic attack or if you burst into tears in the car or you're snappy with your spouse or any of those things. I think I'm hearing from a lot of friends and associates, and everyone's feeling this. So you're not being weak, but if you need help, there's help out there. So look online and you'll find it. So see what you can do for the next week. And I should announce, that April 17th is Wash Your Dang Hands Trivia Part 2. So you just like the Legion Facebook page and you'll be notified of that. So stay safe, everyone.
Randy? Thank you, Laura.
Yes. With respect to the COVID-19, it's for me, it's disheartening to watch on TV and see people, even people my age, not fully understanding the issue that this country is facing. It's embarrassing. And it's embarrassing to the point that we have our police officers have to bring them in and charge these people, and then they stand in front of the TV camera and say they didn't know. Well, I'm not too sure which planet they're from, but anyways, apparently some of them still reside on Earth. I have two daughters that are involved in the medical industry. I have one daughter that works in Kincardine at the hospital, and another one that works in Penetang. And I understand people's worries, and I think that we need to tip our hats to the doctors, to the nurses, to the medical staff in our hospitals, to
Jerry Glover has left.
To the people that take the blood in the labs, to the pharmacies, to the cleaners in the hospital. These are front and center in this mess, and we've lost some very valuable people in this country already from the medical standpoint to this terrible disease, and I'm sure we're going to lose more. And just a shout out from my perspective when we talk about building this center in the Davison Center. I hope we never have to use it. That's what I hope for. So that's it for me.
Joined.
Right.
Thank you, Randy. Bill?
Yeah, unfortunately, I would have liked to have had a little bit of a pre-understanding about the seasonal residential announcement. Because of Ward 2, I have a great deal of our community, our seasonal residential, and unfortunately, I ended up answering about 100 phone calls and emails. I think we need to be careful. They're very valuable people in our community, and I think they felt that it was we against them, and it was a terrible thing to them to, and they're going to adhere to what we want them to do. But, you know, we're going to have to welcome them back in a big way because there is a lot of very upset people, including my mother, who will be talking to you and Mayor Eadie personally. But, you know, we do have to be careful because they are part of our community. They understand the situation. I do think the announcement could have been a little bit softer. But anyways, you know, it wasn't an easy week for me at all. Thank you.
It wasn't an easy week for me either, Bill. But these are extraordinary times. I will be happy to talk to your mother someday.
Well, you know, you might have to talk to everybody else, but you'll do that during the summer during the Beach Association meeting.
You have one.
All right. Thank you, Bill. And Jerry, are you back on?
Yes, I'm here. I won't recycle the comments. I certainly agree with Laura and Doug and Randy. Just want to impress upon people social distancing and isolation. This disease or this virus only travels when we move. So the less people get this message through their heads, the longer we will be in this current state of our new normalcy. So social isolate, distance, stop the spread.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Were you finished?
Done.
Okay, Maureen?
Yes, there's no need to repeat everything that's been said, all those excellent things that you've all said. And thanks and kudos to our healthcare community who are doing an absolutely fabulous job, and hats off. I do want to again stress, if you are on the board, to keep the distance. I think that that's not happening in every case, and just be very aware of that. So everyone stay well.
Thanks, Maureen. Dave Kyler.
Well, I was just wondering if Randy got a commission from A&W for that, because it sounded a lot like the guy that sells hamburgers. But Randy, I echo everything you said, and the rest of you counselors too. It's quite a predicament that we're in here, and I hope we all pull through it. And I'm sure the majority of us will, but the best to everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, Dave. Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Yes, I'd like to give a big shout out to Parks and Rec this week because I had a phone call from a citizen earlier in the week that was very upset that we had closed off the Walk of Memories in Tiverton. And he had a very good logical rationale for keeping it open. He said, well, you know, it really is a part of the trail system. It is a trail that goes through. It's like a boardwalk. And I thought, well, you know, he's got some really good points. It is similar, you know, to the boardwalk and our trails that we have in other parts of the municipality. And when I presented this argument to the people that were in charge, by the end of the day, the signs had been taken down, and that remains open. And so people are certainly using it, and they're following the social distance rules. So, you know, sometimes it does, you know, I think this was a really good example where, you know, we listened to what the public said, listened to their rationale, and made a really good judgment. And end result, I think, was better for everybody. So I just really want to thank them. And it happened in the same day. So, I mean, that was, you know, fabulous. And apart from that, I agree with what everybody else has said, and I just want to encourage everybody to please stay safe.
Thank you. So, my turn. I've said some of this before. I think I want to give of course, I agree with everything people have said, thanking especially our healthcare workers. They're amazing. They're the soldiers in this battle. I also want to thank the people that are continue to work cleaning buildings, cleaning businesses, etc., because they they're putting themselves at risk to a certain degree as well. But that's part of what we need to fight COVID-19, and the store employees. So there are a lot of soldiers out there in this battle against COVID-19, and if we haven't mentioned you, we appreciate everybody that is doing their part. I would also like to thank our staff and CAO. It's been a busy a few weeks. I keep hoping that, as this week goes on, maybe it won't be quite at breakneck speed. Our communication committee that has been formed has been quite busy, as have several other departments. So I'm going to close with the March 26th, just a brief part of it, the message from Public Health Grey Bruce. And the Grey Bruce Medical Officer of Health is Dr. Era. As there is a provincial declaration of emergency, and several municipalities in Bruce and Grey counties have also declared an emergency, the MOH, the Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Era, is strongly recommending against all non-essential travel to and from Bruce and Grey counties. Dr. Era is recommending this to protect the health and safety of all Grey Bruce residents and visitors. Every social action that does not take place will help in preventing the transmission of COVID-19 and in turn prevent spreading the virus to vulnerable groups, including older adults and people with pre-existing health conditions. So thank you to all the people that are doing their best. We just need to keep it up. So next is our motion to adjourn. Or unless, Sharon, did you have an announcement? Well, oh, sorry, that's right. We are moving into close. Sorry, that's my fault.
I guess I would just like to remind people that, the situation continues to evolve. We are responding to new provincial directives that come out as they evolve, and we will be developing policy and our response to those. So I would encourage everyone to continue to watch our website, our COVID-19 webpage that has all of the up-to-date information, as well as follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And we're going to do our best to keep our community informed.
Thank you, Sharon. So next we move into closed meeting, and we'll just take a little break for Matt. It's a little different. He has to take some time to disconnect and do things differently. So closed meeting, moved by
Randy, seconded by Laura Haight, that council move into closed meeting for the purpose of considering a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. That's the hosting agreement with Ontario Power Generation. And advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. That's a legal matter of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, and further that council return to regular open meeting upon completion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstainers? Okay, and we have now moved into close. Thank you. We'll take a little break to allow, I should thank Matt. He's looking after things for us, but he needs some time right now, so we'll take a quick break.